Hey, it's Monique. So today I wanted to just talk about food choices. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to eat healthfully. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to know what's good and what's bad. I've had an allergy to gluten for 22 years, for example. Now with all this gluten-free crap on the market, some of it is just much worse than the actual gluten. And it's being marketed, God bless those marketers, as better for you. And in reality, it's really not even close. So I want people to be thinking about why it is that you keep hearing that when people travel to Europe, for instance, they don't get sick by eating the same foods, whether that be cheese or that be bread or pasta or all these things. And you have to scratch your head and say, what is going on in this country? Well, I'm going to share a link that I found. I happened to be in Europe when my husband came across this wonderful article in Apple News, and it was U.S. food additives banned in Europe. Experts say what Americans eat is almost certainly making them sick. And I thought, holy crap, are you kidding me right now? And it talks about how, when you travel to Europe and you normally, if you're home and you eat pasta, you get all like belly aches and maybe diarrhea or whatever it is, all these things. And how it doesn't happen when you travel. Well, there's a couple of things that they don't, there's like 1,000 plus ingredients that the United States allows in their food and also their cosmetics, which is why I buy Giella and I buy Beauty Counter because they don't allow those things in the cosmetics and the makeup and the things that you put on your face and permeate your skin. But there's this one ingredient called potassium bromate, apparently. And you know what's really annoying is it's banned in China and India. Okay, China, for God's sake, the land of cheap goods that we buy a ton of, will not even buy our wheat. Hold that thought, people. What? Yes, the Chinese, well, several billion of them, are not being fed the same thing that our American population is because they don't think it's good enough. So why are we consuming it? So my question is, what are the other chemical compounds that we're consuming that are, literally, let's see, toxic to human consumers? It may be even the development of tumors. Imagine this is what it says in this article, and it's backed by some science. It's pretty interesting. And then we have titanium dioxide, bromated vegetable oil, bromate, potassium bromate, azodecanbromine, propylip. I can't even pronounce these things. So I just want to leave you with, I used to tell my kids when they were little, if the word has more than two syllables or you can't pronounce it, you probably don't want to eat it. That was one food for thought. And the other one was don't eat a portion that's bigger than your head. Those are all the good safety tips, I think. But the idea that you really have to read labels and really have to be vigilant about what you're putting in your body and what is in the food that you buy. Please, I beg if you read the labels really carefully. And if you can, and I hate to say this, but buy products that are imported. I don't have to buy organic pasta, but I find myself doing that. But more importantly, and as importantly, I buy pasta that's made for my family that's made in Italy. The other reason I buy pasta that's made in Italy or France or Spain is because I know that they've mastered the ability to use other flours that don't have wheat in them that happen to taste delicious. So they make corn-based pastas that are not GMO. They make quinoa pastas, they make brown rice pastas, and they combine them. And they taste so delicious that literally my family, the part of my family that doesn't have a gluten allergy, which is my son and my husband, enjoy them just as much as my daughter and I, who do have allergies. Then the cheese, right? So, like US cows, the first thing I talk to people about it is, they can't digest dairy. They say, well, I say our cows are being shut up with a whole lot of hormones. They're being, fed some stuff that's not really that healthy. See how you feel if you don't eat cow ingredients like milk and cheese. I think Rosie McCann, who's going to be featured later this year, who's a holistic nutritionist, talks about how her son had asthma and he also had cradle cap and he was congested all the time and they, switched his regimen to not having dairy, specifically cow, and all of that cleared up for him within a week. So, just be in tune with your body and ask yourself how you're feeling when you're ingesting things and kind of write it down. That's what she would tell you as a holistic nutritionist, pay attention to how you feel. For me, there's a couple things that I think are really helpful is really reading ingredients and making sure that I don't buy anything that has, multiple syllables that I can't pronounce or anything like that. And also just being mindful of how much I eat and when I eat. And at some other point, I'm going to talk about intermittent fasting and how it does work for some people and it doesn't work for others. But there's an entire level of medical research that's being done on, sugar and cancer. We've heard it. We've heard it anecdotally. I remember my dad being in the hospital when he was very, very sick, and the first thing they wanted to put in his mouth was this Ensure shake. And I read the ingredients of that Ensure shake that they gave him in the hospital by medical doctors, and I was like, holy crap, but the ingredients are so awful. Why don't I just give this guy a green shake made from like vegetables and fruits and protein? Or I just couldn't bring myself to give it to him. So I have to wonder, are we toxifying our bodies? I don't know. You think about it and start to pay attention to when you eat certain things, how you feel and how sharp you are. Do you have brain fog? Are you always constantly hungry? Are we ingesting too much sugar? Yes, as a population we are, because sugar is being added to everything we eat, even salad dressings and just pretty much everything. We're adding sugar. I once had somebody tell me who imported wine and spirits and champagne to this country. That was his job. And he said, oh, yes, you know, we don't get the same champagne that the people in Europe get. The champagne that's exported to the United States has sugar added to it. And I said, are you kidding me? Really? He said, yeah, because the American palate mandates that it be sweet. Very interesting, isn't it? So today's kind of food for thought, pun intended, is to think about reading labels and watching what it is that we're ingesting and how we feel when we do it. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I've just been a very curious, lifelong learner and observer of this industry for the last 22 years. And I have found that certain things just don't work for me that used to work for me. And I think that's partially because our entire bodies change every 7 or so years. So the things that you ate in your 30s probably make you feel gross in your perimenopausal or menopausal or postmenopausal states. So you have to think, well, I can't eat the same way. I can't eat the same things. I have to give my body pause and give it time to reset and reinvigorate. So I noticed for me that if I don't eat breakfast every day, I take amino acids so that I can, ingest some protein, which don't quantify and qualify as food. And I don't eat until like 11 or so in the morning. I feel so much better. I feel sharper and my mind is clearer. And I do that like 4 out of the 7 days because on weekends I have a different cadence and a different rhythm. And I want to have my brunch or I want to have an early breakfast with, something delicious because I love breakfast, but I don't need to have breakfast at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever. If I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat till I am. So anyway, those are food for thoughts. I thought I would check in and have you have put some links in to my favorite doctor, Dr. Hyman, who talks about intermittent fasting. He talks about what to eat. He talks about reading labels, all of that stuff, and also the article that I referenced that speaks to and about what it is that we put in our food that places like Europe and China and India don't. And we wonder. Anyway, just trying to keep us all healthy. Stay well, stay connected. Let me know what you think. Have a great day. Bye.